and say that we're sweethearts again.
Harley Quinn Season 4 was back again this week on Max with a brand new episode entitled Il Buffone. I'm Cape Joel, and this is the video series where I give my thoughts and feelings on the episode that was, while also shouting out any comic book Easter eggs or references I can find. So with that out of the way, let's get to it, shall we? Picking up directly from where last week left off, Harley and Ivy had returned from a dark possible future only to realize that they may have come back too late, as it seems the sun is missing from the sky and the apocalypse has already started. This episode really came out of the gate swinging with jokes too. Ivy says, "Wow, did the Snyderverse guys take over while we were gone?" A joke that I'm sure will go over just fine and real normal on Al Gore's internet. Now you might be thinking to yourself, hey, doesn't Harley still have that Legion time sphere? Can't they just travel a week back in time and fix the problem before it starts? Yeah, well, the writers seem to think about that too, because an errant Molotov cocktail completely destroys the sphere. Damn stupid flammable future tech. This turn of events means our heroes are gonna have to ride this one out for the time being, and also maybe they won't be using time travel to resurrect Nightwing as I assumed they would. But how exactly did the world end up going to hell? Well, for that we end up flashing back a whole week for what ends up being an entirely Harley and Ivy-less episode of the show, an episode that seeks to focus on the ever-growing list of supporting characters, starting with fan-favorite musclehead Bane. Bane, you'll remember, had been absent from the show for a number of episodes now as he was traveling the world trying to complete his never-ending pasta maker saga, a saga that has taken him all the way to Italy after months stuck in customs hell, only to realize that the part he needs for Poison Ivy's pasta maker doesn't actually exist anymore. Still though, Bane isn't dissuaded by this turn of events. In fact, he vows to find the greatest pasta maker in all of Italy if it means winning over Nora's affections, kicking off his own version of Eat, Pray, Love. A lot of early fun is had with Bane struggling with the Italian language, like when he tries to endear himself to some kids by doing the whole Super Mario Brothers spiel, "It's a me, a Banio," only to realize that Bagno means toilet in Italian. Eventually, Bane ends up finding a master pasta maker who agrees to teach Bane her ways. After all, he's big and muscly, so he could probably knead a ton of dough, though first he needs to learn how to be gentle with the eggs and not crack them all. The pasta master's name is ultimately revealed to be, get this, Mama Nacaroni, cousin of Mama Macaroni, the owner of Harley and Ivy's famous restaurant. Apparently she had her name changed at Ellis Island, meaning that Jim Gordon's mispronunciation from several episodes ago was actually correct. Man, they sure did get a lot of mileage out of that Mama Macaroni throwaway line from a couple seasons ago, and hey, this lady's actually voiced by Janine Garofalo, which completely threw me for a loop until I read the credits. When Bane finally does master pasta, Mama refuses to let him leave because, hey, who comes to another country, learns their native art form that people have dedicated their entire lives to, and then just leaves? Again, hey, take that, Eat, Pray, Love, and the whole genre of cultural appropriatey stories of self-discovery. Luckily, Bane manages to weasel his way out of any commitment by getting Mama Macaroni tickets to Clayface's Vegas show, and another nice callback to earlier events. Having Bane's Venom tubes be hooked up to olive oil too might be one of my favorite visual gags of the whole season. If you couldn't tell, the bigger joke at the center of this episode is of course that Nora Freeze barely even remembers Bane's name, thinking of him only as the Splosions guy, and spends the rest of the episode trying in vain to hook up with Captain Cold. This episode also surprised me in the way it saw fit to tie together several other hanging plot lines that you might very well have forgotten. Firstly, there's Lex's ozone gun from a couple episodes ago. Well, today he's finally ready to fire it, only the whole thing ends up coming up hilariously short, embarrassing him in front of the entire world, something that Lex obviously won't let stand. And hey, speaking of embarrassment, Lex continues to experiment with rich guy hair plugs, something that I guess only makes sense when you're a billionaire and no one bothers to tell you that you're wrong. Lex decides that maybe he could use Volcana to help raise the ozone to the level that he needs it to be. It's here that Nora actually shows a whole other side of her character, protecting the young, impressionable Volcana from Lex, imagining that his intentions are probably much worse than just the regular supervillainy stuff. It's not much, but in an episode that was much more focused on jokes than character work, I figure it was probably important to mention this. An enraged Lex decides if he can't get what he wants via deceit, then he'll get it by force, sending his own private goons and locking down the LOD building. This means all the villains who came to to work on a Sunday must join forces to survive the siege on the building. King Shark especially wants to take this opportunity to prove himself as more than just a single dad. He's a villain just as capable as the rest, while also reminding the audience that King Shark's speciality is in IT and how the writers have often struggled to find a good place to showcase these skills. Captain Cold also tags along for this episode too, and while he probably gets the least amount of focus or stuff to do, he does end up forging a quick friendship with Shark, one that ticks off Nora to no end. Speaking of Nora, she's mostly an agent of chaos during all of these events, distracting everyone and even embiggening poor Shark's hands with a ray at the worst possible time. She does, however, end up helping save the day when we learn that she's been stockpiling explosive swag meant to butter up Poison Ivy, and oh geez, that's sure convenient. What's even more convenient though is that by blowing up all of these items along with the ray gun, they end up actually expanding the ozone layer anyway, exactly what Lex Luthor wanted in the first place. The problem is that the laser actually ends up doing too good a job. Not only does it repair the damaged ozone, but it actually makes it so thick that sun can no longer reach the planet. This is why all the color disappeared from the world and why the apocalypse got kickstarted to begin with. And while it all seemed like a comedy of errors at first, Harley and Ivy think that blocking out the sun might actually have been Luthor's plan all along to screw with Superman. And so that was Il Buffone, and it was a really different type of Harley episode that I'm sure most of us are used to. On one hand, I'm sure this will go down as some people's favorite episode of the season, and for other people it will probably be their most hated. I love the idea of Bane and the rest of the cast getting their own focus episode, especially considering that Harley and Ivy dealt with the bulk of their own interpersonal issues last week. I'd also be lying though if I said that the Harley show at its best hasn't kind of spoiled me into expecting good jokes and strong character work all at the same time. This episode sure had the jokes and even went out of its way to tie up a lot of loose plot lines from the rest of the season. But it's just that when Bane and the rest do finally get a chance to speak and be the center of attention, there's just not much there to go with, which is a shame because Bane especially I thought actually did have some good character focus in the Valentine's Day special. Everyone just kind of exits the episode the way that they entered, and I don't understand anyone's inner conflicts more than I did before the episode started. They did make me laugh though, so there's certainly that. And the stage is now set and the stakes raised for what I'm sure will be a big explosive finale once we finally get there. And until we get there, everyone, this has been Cape Joel. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and favorite so you always know when a new Harley video is dropping. Be sure to come back tomorrow when we cover my adventures with Superman, and hey, be sure to check me out on TikTok because I'm covering Ahsoka and other shows that I don't normally cover on the channel. So hope to see you there, everyone. Bye-bye.